Hi everybody, Christina here and welcome to another What's Up Wednesday video. Today we're going to start off our card and doing all of our die cutting right at the beginning. I'm using two dies from the Chalk Talk die set. First one is this little label that I'm die cutting out onto some very vanilla cardstock, and I'm using my magnetic platform for this. And then the second one I'm going to do is a tag shape, and I've used this die so many times. It's one of my favorite tag shapes. I'm die cutting that onto some crumb cake or craft cardstock. And then once I have that die cut, I'm going to take my honeycomb hive background stamp, or die rather, and we're going to die cut this. Now I've always had a problem die cutting this one and getting it separated, the cardstock separated from the die because it was so detailed. So I found that if you use your cardstock with a piece of wax paper in between the die, it really helps separate that cardstock from the die easier. So once I have that die cut, another little tip I have for you is to kind of start working that die, bending it a little bit back and forth, punching out your shapes as you go. Doing this helps the wax separate from the die, and it helps pop your cardstock off a little bit better. So you'll see I just keep working that back and forth, punching out all those little pieces and wiggling the die as I go, and it really makes a big difference. I found that I've done this a couple of times now, and it really has helped with my die cutting. So once I have all those little pieces popped out, I'm going to give a couple more little twists and bends. And once I turn the cardstock over, you'll see that it pops out so much easier. So I'm just going to give it the final wiggles, and then I'm going to turn the die over, and you'll see that it pops out so much easier using that little method, and the wax paper really helps it along too. So now that I have that die cut, I'm going to take the Honeycomb Hello stamp set, and there's a cute little hexagon shape in here that has like a chevron design to it. So I'm just using that with some of the crumb cake card ink and stamping that out into those solid pieces of the background. I can't talk today, sorry guys. So once I have that stamped out, I have all those solid pieces. I want to do the outside pieces, but I don't want the ink to run off the border. So what I'm going to do is use some of my Post-it tape and adhere that down along the border piece so that when I stamp and you pull it off, I still have that same solid background or solid edge going around the outside. So I'm going to do this all around the whole outside of the die cut and stamp my little hexagon shape. So the next thing I'm going to do is stamp out my sentiment, and my sentiment comes from the For You stamp set, and it's just a little nice little hello sentiment. I'm going to stamp that out using the crumb cake ink and stamp that right onto the little label that I punched out with the Chalk Talk die set. And then I'm going to grab that piece of scrap paper from the Very Vanilla and stamp out the little bumblebee that comes in the Honeycomb Hello stamp set using some So Saffron ink. So I'm going to stamp that out. The first time it didn't come out very well, so I'm going to stamp that out twice. And once I have that stamped out, I am going to take the little heart punch that comes in the itty bitty punch pack and punch that out. And the bee, the whole image of the bee doesn't fit in there, but you get the main part of the bee along with a little bit of that little stitched tail that comes out there. So for my card base, I'm using a piece of crumb cake cardstock. It's cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm going to score at 5 1/2 to create my card base of an A2 size card, which is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. So the next thing I want to do is I need to add some dimension to the back, or to my background piece, and I am taking some foam tape and cutting really thin strips of the foam tape so that I can add that to the back of my hexagon hive background image there, or background die cut. So I'm just cutting a really thin piece, and then I can add that right to the back of the die cut right along the edge, and this way I have a nice solid long piece. I don't have to take any other kind of dimensionals or anything like that and try to cut little tiny pieces in different little sections. This way I have a nice long solid piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the whole outside frame, adding dimension to that, and then peeling off the backs. I even made sure to add some to the back of the solid pieces. And then we'll go ahead and add this to our card base. So I'm just centering that right onto that card base. And once I have that done, I am going to then go ahead and take my tag with the tag with the crumb cake that I cut out and add some linen thread to that. And I like keeping my linen thread on the round clothespins because it gives a nice little twist to the linen thread, and you have a nice little kind of twirl sometimes if you cut your piece long enough. This one I kind of kept in a solid piece or a smaller piece, so it doesn't really have a little too much of a little whirl. But what I did was I pulled up a long enough piece and folded it in half, so I made a double bow. So once I have that bow tied, I'm just going to trim off the extra from the tail, and I forgot to trim off the other side, but I eventually remembered later on after I finished filming. I'm going to add some of that foam adhesive also to the back of that tag so that I can pop that up onto my card front as well. So once I have my foam added and the back's peeled off, I'm going to put that down in the lower right hand corner at a little bit of an angle on my card front. And then I have two pieces of ribbon. One is a kind of natural craft color, and the other one is a kind of more of an ivory piece. And that ivory piece I think is like a 7/8 of an inch. It's a pretty wide piece. So what I did was I took the two pieces, layered them on top of each other, and folded them over to make a little tab that I'm going to stick behind my sentiment. So I stapled that just to keep it in place better, and then I'm going to add some adhesive to that so I could stick it right onto the back of my sentiment piece. So I'm just going to stick that on again at a little bit of an angle, and then once I have that adhered down, I'm just going to cut off those little frayed edges so they're not, later on, don't come further down back behind that tag when I lay it down on the card front. This way you don't have those little frayed edges hanging off. I'm going to go ahead and add some more dimension to that. So I have lots of dimension on this card. I'm going to use the foam adhesive and just cut that so I have two pieces, and then put one on each side of that ribbon so that it's kind of helps pop up and it lays flat onto my tag, which I'm going to just take my sentiment and put that down at the bottom of the tag. So once I have that done, I'm going to take that little heart, which right now I know you can't really see the little bee that I stamped on there, but you'll be able to see it better in the photos at the end. And for this, I'm just going to go ahead and add some more foam adhesive to this, and then I will adhere that down to the hello tag right above the sentiment. And it gives a nice little added touch to that, some nice layering done on the card, and all the dimension really gives it a lot of pop. So once I have that little heart adhered down, I'm going to then add some glossy accents to make my little heart stand out a little bit more off that tag, since I am using the same color on top of each other. So I just added the dimension of the crystal effects to that, and that gave it a more of a 3D look. So that pretty much finishes off our card for today. Up next will be a few close-up photos of the finished card. And you can see that cute little bee that I stamped out and punched out with the heart punch. As always, a list of supplies are down below in the YouTube description and over on my blog. And don't forget to head over to my blog for more inspiration at creationswithchristina.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.